Alrighty, everyone. Hi, welcome to the Status Quo. Hello, and thank you for joining us this week. Uh-oh. Where? Oh, there he is. It's like he was just here.
We had some technical difficulties. I couldn't hear shit.
Oh, I gotta turn my sensitivity down just a little bit because I was picking up.
I'll show my face here. It's a beautiful bearded mug.
All right, can you hear me? Can you hear me still? No.
Yeah, we hear you.
There we go. Yeah. Okay, perfect.
You know, it would have been better if we all took a shot before we did this. No, I'm kidding. It would have gave us luck.
That would have been definitely fun. I mean, I suppose I still could, but I don't.
Or me, just shotgun a white claw like I'm Stone Cold.
I'd be smoking right now if I wasn't broke.
Like
if you weren't what?
Like some of them tweez? Like some of them tweez? Oh.
Name's not Patrick D. Dabber for nothing.
I don't go by joint play for nothing.
I go by Nikki.
There we go. There's my face.
There you are.
I'm under a fifth wheel.
Well, welcome.
That's a fifth wheel hitch.
My computer has been going bonkers the last 2 days. So if I have technical difficulties...
You're cutting out a bit.
Sorry. I'm saying my computer's been going bonkers the past couple days, so if it continues to go bonkers, just deal with it.
All right. Just got to read your lips then.
It's not picking me up at all? Let me see.
A little bit. It's kind of it.
Is that any better? That should be better, yeah?
It's better. Yeah, it's better.
Okay. No, I have to find that sweet spot so the speakers don't go right back into the microphone. Okay. So.
Okay. Sharing screen.
Okay, so this week we were talking about, systemic prejudice, between not necessarily just people of color, obviously them as well, but also, females. Now that the whole Don't Ask, Don't Tell has been repealed, you also have, your LGBTQ community as well. I would say, it's kind of a stretch, but also, branch prejudices. Obviously, the Marines over here, we make fun of everybody. Chair Force.
Yeah. I never heard that one before.
Hey, as long as they ain't fucking Coast Guard.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they're like.
They try too hard.
Cousin. They're like the distant cousin. They don't really count. They don't count.
You might as well be a cop.
A water cop.
Exactly. That's what they do. They spend their time looking for drugs on boats. That's what they do.
Miami Vice.
I spent my time looking for IEDs on surveillance. That was my job.
Fancy.
Yeah. And then it was my job to take apart those IEDs or blow them up.
Fucking 18-hour shifts, 4 days straight. It's exhausting.
I found Stacker 2 Storm, my best friend.
My job was nothing to do with bombs.
That's good. Just be glad.
I worked in a temperature-controlled environment, so I had to. It was just part of what I worked with had to be temperature-controlled.
Yeah, I worked with a lot of computers. We had to keep it cool in there. So usually we'd be wearing our field jackets in there because it would be 50 degrees in there.
Yeah. Because I worked with parachutes and life support systems, so we didn't. The only ordnance we had was pen flares and rescue flares, stuff like that. So
I never shot an F-16 again after basic.
Yeah, so
Damn.
I didn't deal with anything explosive, but it was still, that, and then also you don't want parachutes and gear dry rotting, so we had to have it temperature and humidity controlled.
So you mean to tell me you got the M16 done, never shot it again? While me, they were like, you know what? You're a big fella. How would you like to be the 240 gunner? The fuck?
The big guy. All right. Well, jumping
Fucking
into where we're what we're talking about today. I did a little bit of research, and the reports for, let's just go by ethnicity, for commissioned officers, in active duty commissioned officers, 73% of them identifies as Caucasian. Only 8% being black, Hispanic at 6%, Asian 4%, and 1% of everything else.
Yeah.
So less than 10% of commissioned officers are black.
Yeah.
Less than about 75% of them are white. That's quite a big big difference.
There's a lot of pale faces.
Yeah, I think I remember mostly white officers, except for our squadron commander, who was a lieutenant colonel in basic training, and he was a black guy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think it also depends a lot, like the job too. I mean, I'm not. You kind of dig deeper into it, like where are these people coming from? What are their backgrounds? What kind of education do they have that allows them to qualify to become a commissioned officer, And I don't mean just going to college, but, it depends on a lot of things, because a lot of officers where I came from, they were everything. We had Asians, we had, black officers, we had quite a few Mexican officers in my unit. My reserve unit had quite a bit more. It's a reserve unit that's usually a lot more localized people to the area that unit's in. And I'm in Southern California. The demographic here is just, that sets that tone,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But have you guys witnessed anything? And that's just commissioned officers. I didn't really look too deep into everything else, because me, I always like to start at the top and work my way down.
I got.
Officers are where we start.
I mean, I don't know if it was because she was a woman, but so we had a EOD tech woman. She was an E6.
Mm-hmm.
Now this chick had done drill sergeant school, so recruiting, like she had both the fucking badges, rocking it. Just she was fucking super high speed, squared away, great NCO. But never in my time that I was in, and that she was in the unit, never once did I see her ever go up for a promotion board.
Really?
Yes, it was like never once. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, hey, Sergeant Sanchez, why won't you go up to the promotion board? She's like, well, they never called me. I'm like, you're more squared away than fucking top. Like, what is going on here? Like, so I started asking my platoon sergeant about it. And what he had told me was, don't get involved. It is what it is. It's the way that it's been running for a while. I'm like, huh?
See, she's
So
got
you
a
mean to
double
tell
whammy
me?
there. She's got that double whammy. She's got that female aspect, and she's got that Hispanic aspect. She's not.
Well, you got to understand too. Like, yes, females can be bomb techs. There's nothing saying they can't. Because if anything, we're a support MOS. We're not technically categorized as combat.
Right.
Even though we do get into a lot of fucking firefights. And motherfuckers take a lot of pop shots at us. But so females can join it.
Right.
And I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, this is cool. See females taking bombs. Some of these chicks had bigger balls than I did. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, these chicks should be getting fucking I should be seeing the first female fucking master sergeant. Like, fuck. Like it just, I don't know. It just because EOD, like infantry, like artillery, like all these combat MOSs, it's been mostly a boys club for the past see. Fuck, what was EOD was mostly used in World War II?
Yeah.
40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and almost 60 to 70 years of just the fucking boys club. And now that, the Army was like, you know what, we need to start letting females, do this. So they were like, okay, cool. Because at first, their main thing was, oh, can the female hold up in the bomb suit? Because that fucking thing is heavy.
And you get hot too.
You get fucking hot. And those two little fans that supposedly work around the neck, they don't do shit.
Yeah.
But, I'm sitting here and I'm like, this is fucked up. But, like what like what leads me to my first thing from Google. Sorry, I told you I was gonna bring notes. So, does everybody know the major military news net thing, the military.com or military times, whatever, Army Times? So
Yeah.
so this is straight from the Army Times. This is straight from the Army Times. I'm gonna pull this up right now. If you want me to share my screen, I will.
You can go ahead if you want to.
It could just be a branch thing too, because like I was in the Air Force, and that's the branch where most women enter into.
Oh yeah, like there's a lot.
The Air Force probably has more women combined than all the other branches.
Probably.
So
I wouldn't doubt it, but
yeah.
I will say that, like, because I was in the Marines. I mean, I never really kept up with a whole lot of the statistics for any of the other branches. And probably in the last few years, I haven't really paid attention to statistics, even in the Marine Corps. But I can definitely say that since they opened up training females on the West Coast as well for the Marine Corps, that it's definitely, that statistic is going higher. Like, the females in the Marine Corps used to be the smallest of the smallest of the smallest group. I mean, because the Marines is already already the smallest branch.
It also already the smallest branch, yeah.
And then
so
the
this
females
is
only made up like 5 to 6% of the Marine Corps. So that's already a lot smaller than any, other group. But I know that since they've expanded the training from just South Carolina to now San Diego and California as well, that there's a lot more. And I know that the numbers have gone up. When I went to boot camp, every cycle there was only 2 platoons of females, and they came in every 2 weeks, as opposed to the males who came in every week with 7 or 8 platoons at least.
Oh God, no! This is gonna be bad.
So ours, we had very little, but now that they're training West and East Coast, there's not so much of a waiting period. They're able to push females through a lot quicker, and now they're not having to spend so much money, sending everybody to one depot.
To Paris
I do
Island.
know that the females in the Marine Corps, that number has grown. I want to say it's probably, I think that when I read it, it was like 10 or 11% of the Marine Corps now is females, which, is actually, I mean, that's double what it was when I was in, and I got out 12 years ago.
I think I saw a female Marine like one time when I was in basic. I mean, I saw her around, but I mean, as far as the individual goes, like I knew one female Marine. I think that was it the whole time I was in.
Really? Where can I ask where you were stationed, or like even?
It was a Goodfellow Air Force Base in Texas.
In Texas. There was Marines. There was probably a reserve unit. It was
they trained the Air Force and the Marine Corps for the same career field at the same base. So I was an imagery analyst, and those guys and the guys that were going to go do that for the Marine Corps, they were in the same class with us. Our sergeant, our class leader, was actually a Marine Corps sergeant.
Right. Where was I?
So yeah, there's 8.9%.
Now, right now.
Yep, 8.9 as of 2020.
For females in the Marine Corps?
Yep.
I wonder what it is for the Air Force now. I wonder.
We'll look it up.
Probably like 20 to 25%, probably.
I'm your facts guy.
I was going to say too, when our unit got our first sergeant, it was a senior master sergeant, and it was a lady.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's
Senior,
another thing. I mean,
Senior Master Sergeant Lucero, I think her name was.
So I said
When-
8.9 for the core, right?
something like that.
20.9 for Air Force.
So yeah, I knew it was got to be at least 20.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, we had whole flights full of females in basic training when I was there, and that was back in 04. So
You want to know something funny? So I just kind of looked it up, and female United States military generals. So this is, brigadier general or higher.
Yeah.
yeah.
What is brigadier general? Oh,
1 star.
Oh, what?
Yeah, be my little general, brigadier, major,
Right, but
lieutenant.
it's what? It's what? I can't remember.
Yeah.
First lieutenant, captain,
06?
major,
06?
lieutenant colonel, so it would be in 07, I believe.
06 or 07, something like that. Yeah. So anyways, the Army has a decent amount in its history. I want to say probably about close to 100. The Marine Corps has less than 20 in its entire history of females that have become at least a brigadier general. The Navy and the Army are about tied on how many they have. The Air Force has about 5 times more than the Marine Corps does. The National Guard has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in its history. The Space Force has had 2. The Space Force is catching up. The Space Force is catching up to the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps has been around for 240.
Dude, when they came up, when they came up with the Space Force, I'm literally talking to myself like, that's literally what Air Force Space Operations Command is for. What the fuck are you talking about?
Okay. Well, they're basically just taking that and turning it into its own branch, because kind of like how the Marine Corps is a department of the Navy, the Space Force is a department of the Air Force.
Yeah, it was because Trump wanted to create his own branch of the military. Is why it happened.
I mean, I think he just kind of got excited to be the one to get it to happen, but it had been talked about for quite a while before he was in office. I think
I had never heard it mentioned before he said it. I was like, what? Space Force.
I mean, because I was stationed when I did a reserve year, 1 year in the reserves at Edwards Air Force Base. So working close with NASA there, you could just walk through the chow hall and you'd hear stories and things and plans. It's like, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to be talking about that, but I mean, people are stupid. They do whatever they want. The Coast Guard has more admirals or, instead of generals, but they have more than the Marine Corps does. The Coast Guard.
Damn.
And the Coast Guard is like itty bitty.
The fucking coasties. Have more damn.
Yeah. So, I think it also depends. I mean, you got to look at the dynamic of everything. I talk a lot about the Marine Corps. I'm just saying because I was in the Marines, I relate to it a lot easier. You're going to find more of your machismo, I'm a guy, people in the Marine Corps. It already comes with the stigma that you're supposed to be the biggest, the baddest, the toughest. So you're going to attract those kind of people to it. So, of course, you're going to have these, no, I joined the toughest, I'm the guy, so I'm going to be the one in charge. And you're going to see that suppression of women rising up because the men that joined probably wanted to join because they are the big bad tough guy. But the Navy and the Army, they're a little bit more progressive when it comes to that. And that's why they have 50,000, 07s and above. And then the Space Force, of course, they've been around for like 3 minutes, and they've already got 2 female generals. Who knows about how many males so far? I didn't look up males.
Oh,
they were probably prior service though.
Oh, they probably
had to be.
I doubt that they joined straight.
And they probably came straight from the Air Force too.
Oh yeah. Let's see. One of them is Armagno. United States Space Force Lieutenant General, serving as Director of Staff of the United States Space Force. She is the service's first female general officer and only officer to have commanded both the 30th Space Wing and 45th Space Wing. And then Deanna Burt. The first woman to hold the rank of Major General.
Oh, man.
pretty
So,
freaking awesome.
You guys ready for some fucked up shit though on this next part?
Please,
Since we
go
all
ahead.
now know
Give me some content.
that the Air Force is way more gender equality than all the other branches. Love you guys for setting the standard. Okay, so this happened with the Louisiana Army National Guard. Angry cops love him, love his work. He did a video on it. A couple other people did videos on it, but just so everybody knows, this is from military.com. It says a Louisiana Army National Guard officer retired in March with benefits after being convicted of assault and conduct unbecoming an officer for, with quotations, motorboating an enlisted soldier during a promotion ceremony in Jordan, Louisiana in May 2021.
Yes, I heard about that. Didn't what's his
Wow.
name?
Okay.
What's that TikTok guy that army guy that makes videos? The
Angry Cops?
Is it
AC,
Angry
yeah.
Cops? Yeah.
Yes.
That
I mean,
guy,
yes.
was she in
did a video
uniform?
about
So
it.
what's the point?
Yes.
Like,
There's
Yes, it was. This was during a promotion ceremony.
so you know how they have like the patches that Velcro? Supposedly he like ripped it off with
Straight
his
on-
teeth, and in the process, like
Yeah.
like
It-
what the fuck? Like, oh my god! Like
I mean,
would
she
be
had BD. I
mortified.
mean, she had BDUs on, right? So there's no cleavage showing at all. So what's the like? What's he thinking anyway?
I don't know, but it begs people to wonder, like, what made him feel comfortable enough to do that. You know, like, was there something going on between them? Because supposedly, according to her, she said that there wasn't, but she's not gonna be like, yeah, sure,
but there's,
and just, you know.
but there's court documents though on him. So this piece of shit's name is Captain Bill Crosby.
Bill Crosby.
Bill Crosby. Wow. Okay.
He told the
It's the
junior
golden
soldier
age.
that he planned to motorboat her at her promotion ceremony to sergeant and did just that, placing his
Just
face
that.
between her breasts and moving it side to side. Without the sergeant's consent, during an impromptu ceremony initiated by Crosby on May 15th, 2021.
I would be absolutely mortified. I would
Like,
be
she-
mortified. if
Like, she was
somebody did that.
begging for them not to promote her because of this fucking sick fuck.
I wonder why she didn't go above his head.
Well, what can you really do? Like, they're trying to promote you. You just say,
I mean,
I'll be promoted
I would have
by
gone to
somebody
the.
else.
I would have gone to the squadron commander if it were me, or at least the first sergeant,
I would've went to CID.
or something. Yeah. What the fuck?
Straight down to PMO.
Straight up to IG. Fuck the chain of command at that point, because that's your fucking captain.
That's a good point.
That's
Yeah.
your company commander
That's no
acting
yeah.
a fool.
See, but that's like what I'm talking about. Like when it comes to women in the military, like you have a lot of these people that think, like, I don't know, just because we're women, oh, we have a vagina, you know, then that means that we are subspecies to a lot of people in the military. And I dealt with that. I don't want to say a whole lot, but I did deal with it at one point, to the point where it made re-enlisting impossible for me. The one time I dealt with the gender inequality was what prevented me from re-enlisting. And it really sucks because it was with, you know, somebody at the command level in my unit on the enlisted side, and he was not a fan of women in the military. This guy was the laziest piece of shit E9 I have ever met in my life. He was so lazy. Like, he would leave work early just so he can go fishing. But then when you needed paperwork done, like, there was a guy who wasn't able to get his EAS, you know, he was leaving the Marine Corps, and he couldn't find the Sergeant Major to sign his paperwork because the Sergeant Major took, you know, he wasn't on leave, but he just happened to be taking 3 days off so he can go fishing on the Colorado. Like, the laziest guy ever. But if you were a female and you got in any sort of trouble whatsoever, you got the book thrown at you.
Oh yeah, you get fucking crucified. Like, if this would have been an NCO, if this would have been an NCO E7, probably E6 or lower, if there would have been any enlisted rank below that, they would have been nailed to the fucking cross.
I would say anything other than staff, so E5 or below.
Yeah.
Because I want to say, I think at once you become an NCO or E6 or staff NCO, I think you need Congress to do.
All I'm saying is though, dude should have got way worse. Like he should have got a dishonor. He should have.
Yeah.
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 That should have been not only dishonorable discharge, but that should have required.
He should have been locked up. Yeah, he should have been fucking locked up.
That was legitimately sexual assault, and it was witnessed by people.
Yeah.
I mean, like that should have been definitely. Then that goes to prove it. Just shows you both sides of the spectrum right there. You see this guy do what he did, and everybody saw it, and he basically just got a slap on the wrist, while this poor girl over here, she got assaulted and got nothing for it. She got nothing for it. It's not like they were like, oh, okay, well,
they're like,
so
we're sorry.
We're
sorry this happened. Yeah, no.
Let me guess, they transferred her.
So now she could qualify for MST when she gets out of the military and files a claim for disability, because there's definitely proof of it. For those who don't know, MST is military sexual trauma, rape, sexual assault, anything like that happens in the military caused by another military member. So, I mean, that's really the only thing she gets out of this, a lifetime of
trauma.
A bad
Thanks for joining. Here's trauma.
I mean, it's not like he fully on raped her, so it's not like they're going to grant her 100% for PTSD for that one incident. I mean, maybe depression and everything that comes with it afterwards, the fallout and dealing with the sudden publicity of it, that could contribute. But when it comes to the MST itself, she probably won't get much for it because she wasn't.
Everybody gets rejected for everything the first time.
Not me.
Like I wouldn't have my rating if I wouldn't have found a lawyer to do something pro bono for me. Like I started to have seizures, and then I filed for and they wouldn't give me service connected, so the lawyer made him give me non-service connected pension.
Like that's one thing that I tell anybody. Anybody who's still active duty or about to join, if I come across them, I tell them everything. I said, look, you're not malingering and you're not, making shit up if you just tell your doctor to put it in your record. You can be like, hey, I keep getting these headaches. I'm going to go let the doctor know. You're not trying to get out of work. You're not doing anything. You just want it noted in your chart. Make sure that if anything keeps reoccurring, you're not going to look down upon. I mean, technically, if anybody finds out, like, you could sit there and be like, hey, I need to go see medical, just so you can go tell your doctor. You don't have to tell anybody what it's for. Hey, I need to go see medical. As long as it's in your record, it will help you in the long run when it comes to filing a claim for disability. I was that way. Yeah. I'm the kind of person, I mean, my job was, I don't want to say like it was super luxe or anything. I mean, it kind of was. We sat, like I said, we sat in an air-controlled room. And we were in Yuma, Arizona, where in the summer it doesn't go below 100 degrees, even at nighttime.
I love it so much.
I love the desert also if I'm in the desert. Like I
love the desert in the winter.
Well, like I live in Southern California, so even though this is a coastal desert, it's not the desert. Like you don't picture Los Angeles basin when you think of the
desert.
You
get a lot more wind.
Kind of sometimes. I mean, well, yeah, especially where I'm at because we get the Santa Ana winds that are pushing right through the mountains here. But
oh yeah, you do.
But so my job was easy enough that like as long as we got our work done, if we had to go somewhere, all we had to do was just tell our boss, hey, we're going here. Hey, I'm gonna run to the gas station. Hey, I'm gonna go run to medical. Hey, I'm gonna go run to dental to make an appointment. Hey, I'm gonna go do this. Hey, I'm gonna go. Whatever, and as long as all of our work was done and we came back to check out for the end of the day, then we really could do what we wanted. There was a couple times that my Jeep would break down and I would get my work done and be like, hey, boss, I'm going to run up to the Hobby Lobby, work on my Jeep for a little bit. He'd be like, okay, just come back. Make sure you check out with me before the end of the day. Cool. We were able to do that sometimes. So being able to sit there and be like, hey, I'm going to run to medical. I want him to put something in my chart. Then he'd be like, okay, I'll see you in a little bit, and I would be able to go and put it down. So when I got out, I didn't file a claim for the longest until I realized that these things that had started while active duty were now becoming a problem. You know, I went and filed, and I didn't have to appeal for anything. I was granted 100% right away. Within 6 months of filing, I got that call saying I got 100%. So, you know, being able to have your stuff listed, not necessarily complaining, asking for SIQ or pain meds or light duty or anything like that, you know, having it just in your record is definitely a bonus. It's a bonus for the veteran, you know. I know that we're kind of sidetracking here.
No, I'm at that. Actually gave me enough time to pull up a new thing. Two things. We all
Hi, Twinkles,
remember what
welcome.
happened with that Fort Hood soldier
Which
a couple
one?
years
The
ago.
female that
Vanessa Galeen.
Vanessa Guillen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tragic.
This is
That was a
April.
rape case, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Yes, but she was also murdered and buried in a shallow pit.
Oh yeah. Oh Jesus, that was
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Two fellow soldiers, I believe it was.
Is that at Fort
Raped her and
Jackson?
killed
Was that where that was?
Fort Hood.
Oh right. Okay.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, it was at Hood.
I mean, you're gonna think the most heinous
I
stuff
couldn't
for some
believe
reason
that.
coming out of the Army is coming from Fort Hood. Like Fort Hood is just like, I want to say it's the first ring of hell.
Yep.
Is that the one in Georgia?
No, it's in Texas.
Okay.
It goes Hood, Polk. Okay, so Hood's the first ring of hell. Polk's the second ring of hell. Drum's the the third ring of hell. Irwin's the fourth, and there's two more. But I don't fucking remember off the top of my head. But so it says, an Army investigation found that Specialist Vanessa Galeen reported being sexually harassed 2 times by fellow soldiers at Fort Hood before she was killed, a finding that contradicts the Army's previous claims that there was no evidence Galeen experienced harassment. Galeen's supervisor.
I heard that there was a lot of people. There was a lot of people that were actually trying to help her with her initial claims. Like she complained about it, and people were like, "We need to do something. Like, let's do it. And then other people higher up knocked it back down, saying like, you know, we don't want this kind of bad publicity, because it was very shortly after that other male soldier had went missing out of Fort Hood, who also ended up being murdered and buried in a shallow grave, also not too far from the base. So, you know, now there's this whole scare thing that maybe there's a serial killer out there, when the two were unrelated. The way that their bodies ended up just was similar. But
yeah, so this is what happened as a result of all this.
But she
Army
had
officials,
advocates, but nobody would listen.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, sorry. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
All right. So the Army has they took 4 officers out of command out of 3rd Cavalry. No, 5 current or former leaders, and 3 of those officers are going to be brought up on charges.
Good.
That's good. I mean, they probably would have been able to sweep it under the rug if she wasn't killed.
Right. Yeah. Right. Definitely.
You know, I mean, it would have just been another typical rape situation, and they would have, you know, gone after the people who actually raped her, and that would have been it.
Yep.
Man, I'm so glad nothing like that ever happened to any of the women I was working with. I'm so glad.
Well,
because we lived in the same dormitories with them too. We just didn't share suites. You know, we had suites where you'd share a bathroom, right?
Pretty typical. I mean, that's pretty common. I mean, it depends on the size of the base, really, and how much each unit is funded. But like when the barracks in my unit, like it was one room was females, the next room was males, female, male. You know, obviously they didn't share the dorm, but they shared the building. They were just kind of scattered. Now, like when I was in MOS school, the females had one floor on one wing. You know, they weren't mixed in with the males, so that way they knew, first floor. The north wing on the first floor was only females. The rest of the building was obviously the males. But you know, but then that kind of reminds me of that story of that female Marine who got murdered by when she was pregnant. She was like 7 months pregnant, and she was, you know, she went missing. They couldn't find her. And then I think it was either her like fiance or boyfriend or husband or something like that. She had just recently separated from because of domestic violence. You know, he was joining in on the search and everything for her, and it turns out that he was the one that killed her and burnt her in his backyard barbecue. You know, his old barbecue.
So it's always the ex-husband or the ex-boyfriend or something when a woman gets murdered.
And
most
so
of the time.
that kind of shocked the Marine Corps because it was, you know, that just didn't that kind of stuff didn't happen. You know, you might hear of Marines, you know, finding out that their, you know, ladyboy in the Philippines, you know, was a ladyboy and freaked out and killed them, which is also not a good thing. Like, you know, obviously not. But, you know, you would hear of that way more often than you would hear of a female Marine being murdered by her Marine partner, you know, and I want to say it was because she was leaving him, you know, and taking their baby. She hadn't even had the baby yet. She was only like 7 months pregnant. But she was just trying to get away because all he did was just beat up on her. And like the unit was starting to realize that, you know, this guy's probably the one doing this to her. And she just went missing. And then like a month or so later, they found her. They found her, what they could of her remains in his fire pit in the backyard. Like that.
Yeah, I think one thing that women need to think about, like before they join the military, is it doesn't matter what branch you join. They will literally take anybody who meets the requirements in the United States military. Anybody.
Oh,
As long as you don't have too many felonies, as long as you're not a complete idiot and you can pass the ASVAB, you're in.
Well,
and you pass the physical, yeah.
I mean, I don't, like I said, I mean, I'm past that point of needing to know the requirements. I'm too old. I'm too broken. They're not going to take me back, you know.
Right.
But I want to say, at least with the Marine Corps, they won't take you if you have any felonies on your record.
I'm back.
They will if it's like expunged or sealed. But if you just have like an open felony on your record, you're disqualified.
That's probably good.
Like I said, I don't know about now, but I know that the Army at the time, especially you know during the Bush era, they were definitely taking anybody that they could, you know.
Yeah, they were willing to let my dad join up. I mean, he was a multi-convicted felon that's been to state prison more times than I can count.
Like I want to say, and don't quote me because I might be wrong, but I want to say that at the moment, because there is no significant push to populate the military right now, that I want to say that the National Guard is probably the only ones that are willing to take people with felonies, only because they're more of like a reservist type of thing. They're not working with the equipment and everybody every single day. So there's a little bit more leniency there. But even like the reserves for any of the actual reserves for any of the branches, they're not even taking people with felonies right now, just because they're not that desperate for people. You know, I mean, who knows though? I mean, we've got this whole thing with Ukraine going on still, and you know, everybody's just interested just enough that if one little thing pops off wrong, then everybody's just gonna like be like, we need to go fight, and it's like, not our war. That's my opinion. It's not our war. It's not our problem.
So this is fucking great. So they are right now, as of July 26, 2022, Army opens its doors to recruits who fail to meet initial body fat and academic standards amid recruiting crisis.
I read about that too. Yeah. So many guys aren't meeting the physical requirements now, are too overweight to join, and they're getting waivers and stuff like that.
Yeah, no.
See, that also depends on the branch, because like the Marine Corps does not. They have a zero tolerance. If you don't fall within their ranks when it comes to actually,
they're all fucking Twiggies, are fucking roid monsters.
Now, I mean, once you're in, there's a little bit of leniency. You know, like after I had my daughter, obviously I had put on some weight, and I went from being at the bottom of my weight, you know, limit to like the very top, and my genes, my genetics, you know, I have had to fight genetics to not get bigger. So, you know, the women in my family, both my dad's side and my mom's side, you know, when they have children, they get exceptionally larger. And I've had 2 kids, so that's 2 bump ups. You know, but the Marine Corps don't care. They gave me 6 months to get back down into my weight limit, and by the time that 6 months had come up, and I was, you know, I had been on, what's it called, where you're like on the special exercise the fat body program. By that time that 6 months had come up, I was 2 pounds under my max for my height, and I basically just kind of like coasted there because I was basically unhealthily keeping myself at that weight, because now I'm fighting the way my body's trying to react to still recovering from having this child. Genetics just don't like the women in my family having babies and then going back down size. My body doesn't like that. So I wasn't bulimic, but I was eating very little, exercising more than I you know, had the energy to do so. Like I'm pretty sure that didn't help with my issues that I'm service connected for either. You know, I mean, but I stayed at that, you know, just under my max, so that way at that point what could they do? I was in my regulations. I was within regs.
Yeah.
But some people are not so lucky. Like the only way I want to say that there was maybe 2 people I knew in the entire Marine Corps that I had met that were over their max due to body fat as opposed to muscle mass. And both of them were because they had legitimate thyroid issues and were on medications that caused them to gain weight, medications that the military had prescribed. So the military was like, well, this is our fault. We're not going to kick you out for it unless you want a medical retirement. But they don't want to do that either, because then they know that they're going to have to pay them at medical retirement pay for the rest of their life. When they would rather just be like, well, we could just kind of like let you slide through until you EAS and then be done with it, you know. There's a lot of politics and all that, but I mean, that kind of goes in with it. You know, people, different body types and stuff are also prejudiced against, because you get these big meatheads that are 100% muscle with like 2%
Oh,
body
I got a
fat.
story.
There was a lady who was a staff sergeant.
They're getting in trouble for being overweight when they're not, and then they request the water displacement test to calculate body fat, which is a lot more accurate than taping. And the commands they're not approving that. So these guys are having to like lose their muscle mass just to make weight, and I've seen that happen. I've seen more people get in trouble for being overweight due to muscle mass than I have people getting in trouble for being overweight due to fat.
Yeah, I had an NCO. Yeah, so I had a staff sergeant named Staff Sergeant Powell. Dude was big. Like he did amateur strongman shit. This dude was built like a fucking tank.
Yeah.
And so our first sergeant was a bit of an asshole, a bit of an alcoholic. Always showed up to work with vodka or Hennessy on his breath. Was you being like, oh well, we need to get some of these soldiers not so damn fat. I think Staff Sergeant Powell should be doing PT twice a day, because he's looking a little chunky, and Staff Sergeant Powell was down the corridor, and he heard it because First Sergeant's office door was open. He goes in there, takes his ACU top off, throws that shit on the floor, takes his fucking shirt off, and just proceeds to flex every fucking thing. And just, it was like seeing Bruce Banner become the Hulk, and he's just like, is this fucking fat top? I could crush a fucking beer can with these fucking biceps.
That's funny. Yeah, we had one guy, and he was like one of those like super CrossFit bros.
Yeah.
Like, he was the kind of guy that you would see randomly by himself in the middle of the base on a random street lifting a monster truck tire over and over.
Oh yeah.
Like, he would do that in his off time for fun. One of those kind. The insufferable type of CrossFit guys. But this guy, he was, I want to say, like, he's actually still a friend of mine on Facebook, but he was constantly, well, he was higher up in rank. He was a master sergeant when I knew him, so an E8. Um,
Yeah, E8.
E8, but
Yeah.
he was constantly getting, called up because of his weight. He was over his max for his height only because of his muscle mass. Like, this guy didn't have a neck. Like, it was just jawbone
Yeah,
to
just
shoulders.
yeah.
Like, it was he's just pure muscle. Like, even if he was not just muscle, like, you can tell that he's just a big bone dude. Like, like, he's just one of those, like, broad guys, big broad
You
shoulders.
look like one of the dudes from
like,
Power Thirst.
Kind of. Like, remind me after to show you a picture of him. I'll show you what I mean. Like, he's one of those people that just has, like, a really, square face, like, really square jaw, naturally just, just naturally one of those people that you can tell can build muscle like that. Like,
He just got chiseled out of rock.
He did, but then he started getting into CrossFit, and he just went from, like, this, like, buff-looking dude to a straight-up brick house, and it's like, don't let me get on your bed side.
Right.
But
We had this lady who was a staff sergeant when I was a good fellow training how to do my job, and she was clearly overweight, and even the girls would make fun of her, like, talk behind her back about how is this lady passing the fitness requirements. I mean, because you could tell just by looking at her in her BDUs, you could see fat rolls on her. Like, she had like a turkey neck. It was weird.
See, that's the thing, though, is that everybody has, like, this expectation of what fit looks like, and if she's able to pass the stuff, honestly, I could care less, really. Like, if they got a couple extra pounds on them, fine. If they can do the physical requirements and they can still fit in the gear that's given to them at whatever size is given to them, obviously there's a cap on sizes. But as long as they do their job, they do it well, they pass the requirements, I really don't care if they have a few extra pounds on them. That's my personal opinion. Like, now, if my ankle wasn't as fucked as it is, like, I could probably, like, strap down the girls here and actually go for a run. I can't, if I don't, running is awful. I'd knock myself out. But, but there was one woman in my unit. She was, her and I were actually pregnant at the same time. I was pregnant with my daughter. She was pregnant with twins. She had twins. So she got big. Like, her stomach got big, but you can see that also she was fighting genetics to stay small while pregnant, but everybody was like, oh, you're having twins. It's totally fine. And she had her twins, and she was a gunny. So she was an E7, and she had her twins, and she had a lot of trouble getting back down into regs. But nobody made fun of her, because who makes fun of an E7, in a unit where, and she was in S4. So she was the one who got each shop what they needed. She was the one in charge of inventory for the unit and budgeting and all that kind of stuff. She was the one that
Somebody you don't want to piss off. Yeah.
You don't want to piss her off, so nobody really made fun of her. But then you had another girl who got pregnant, and she was normally a stick. She was tiny girl, but she got pregnant and she blew outward. Like, she just probably, like, bigger than I am now. And in the Marine Corps, that's a big, huge no-no. And she was never able to get back down into regs. And sure enough, she got her 6 months of the time to lose the weight. And then they gave her an extra 3 months. They gave her a 3-month extension because she got pretty big. And she still wasn't able to get back into regs, and boom, out. She was out of the Marine Corps. They didn't want to deal with it. It's like, wow, like, did you even, like, get her tested to see maybe there's an underlying problem for this? Like, because she was out there every day exercising. Like, at the chow hall, she was eating, like, the bare minimum, but, like, salads 100% of the time. Like, she was doing whatever she could, and she just couldn't do it. you know.
But
And
let's not forget, like between '03 and '04, like every branch of the military was using any excuse they could to cut enlisted personnel below E5.
see, but that makes no sense at that time frame because that's when we were doing the push into Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah,
and
but they
everything.
were worried about it was the DOD worried about the budget is what it was.
I suppose. Well, I mean, I joined in 05. I went to boot camp in June of 2005, so I didn't hit the fleet until 2006 after going.
Wait, I meant to say between '07 and '08. I'm sorry, that was yeah.
Oh no, then yes, that makes sense because once
Yeah,
Bush,
because I joined in '04 and I got in '08. So
once Bush, basically once Obama was declared the winner for presidency, the down draw started almost immediately.
Well, even before that, yeah.
Well, kind of, but because I got out of active duty in 2010, and by that point, it was harder for somebody to stay in the military than it was for somebody new to join. And these were perfectly qualified people, perfectly qualified within regs, whatever, that were being basically forced out for somebody 3 or 4 years younger than them who was probably more of a shitbag. These are highly qualified people that they were letting go of for what? Like, it costs more money to completely train somebody all over again, but whatever. It makes no sense, but they were trying to draw people out, and then, there's a science behind that.
Right. I mean, it didn't make any sense to me either because they were cutting people in my career field, and we literally had to have TS/SCI clearance in my unit to do my job. And like, it's expensive to get that kind of clearance.
Right. But, I mean, don't clearances, they last 10 years, some of them. So wouldn't it make sense to just keep somebody until their, clearance runs out? And it's still, because now you have to spend a whole nother, close to $1 million training a whole new person, and then spending however much money once they get to the fleet or once they get to their final unit to get them trained and accustomed, pay them every month, and then get any background clearances or, everything. Everything it's just much more expensive than it would be to just keep people who already know what they're doing. They're already qualified. They're already cleared. They've already got their uniforms. They already know, it doesn't make sense. But,
they say, one of my cousins is a staff sergeant for the West Virginia National Guard. They kind of bet wartimes Captain America, peaceful field, or no, sorry, wartimes Beetlejuice, peaceful times Captain America. They want you to be picture perfect in the Army if it's a peaceful time. And it's just kind of like they don't care if it's war. I heard. I mean,
you're cutting in and out a little bit there.
Oh.
But we're good. We're good now. Uh-oh. He left. And he's back.
Am I better now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I said one of my family members is a staff sergeant for the West Virginia National Guard. He said it best. Wartime Beetlejuice, peaceful time Captain America.
Yeah.
Because it's
No, you're right. I mean, a lot of it is, the look. I mean, if we're having a bunch of old people in the military, then we look less effective. And intimidation is a big portion of the military.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if we have all these...
Well, fuck, if they want us to look more intimidating, just allow us to have beards.
just dress everybody up like a freaking Call of Duty operator, okay?
Right? We just go storming that beach like fucking looking like fucking Captain Price and soap, man. Come on, guys. Canadians know what's up. Look how hard those motherfuckers look with war paint on.
See, not even Captain Price. You got to go more with like Stone.
Looking more like Willie from Duck Dynasty while you kick it indoors.
I was about to say Duck
What's up?
Dynasty.
No, not Willie, because Willie's fat. You got to go more with Jace, the skinnier brother. But he's got a beard too. Like,
I am
well, he did.
amazed
I don't know
that
about now.
I'm amazed right now. Okay, yeah, sure. Hell, you know what? Hell yeah. Nah, fuck it. Let's just put Psy in there. That fool makes homemade napalm.
That guy is
I want
fucking
that fool in
nuts,
my
man. If
foxhole
we had a
anytime.
military with people who looked and acted like Psy, like Uncle Psy, then everybody would be fucked. The world would be fucked.
Oh
Yeah, those guys are nuts.
That guy is fucking nuts. That guy is absolutely insane.
I just want to take Uncle Psy to a fucking EOD demo. Be like, hey, here's the clacker. Have fun, buddy. 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Boom. There you go.
Maxie, what are
Let's
you
fucking
doing?
go. Or you get the one where you just.
Okay.
Was it like,
Sorry, my kids are in and out of the house.
I think it's an I think it's an M82. The ones that prime the dead cords are like a little fucking just like a ring on it. You just hold it and boom. Travels down the dead cord and so beautiful. So beautiful.
Okay, so back on. What, son? Sure, whatever you're talking about. But back to the subject here. We just keep kind of straying, and that's. I mean, we do that. We like to. We go on tangents on here all the time. But back to what we were saying. What do you guys think? Let me see. I have the question in my head. I just don't have the words for my mouth, if that makes sense. Have you seen? I mean, you mentioned that one woman who didn't get promoted despite the fact that she was obviously qualified.
Yeah.
Have you, other than that, have you witnessed even like males enlisted, junior, senior officers, whatever? Have you ever witnessed somebody not getting promoted specifically because of their race?
Just.
But it obviously it wasn't. It didn't come out and be like, oh well, you know, she's a black woman, so that's why she's not getting promoted. I don't mean like blatantly in your face, but like everybody knew that was pretty much why, you know.
You know, I will say as an observation from being in the military, I've seen a lot of African American senior NCOs. I've seen a lot of like Latino, hair, Hispanic, whatever, all that in a jumbled up category, which, sorry to do it, but it's the easiest way to do it. I don't be sitting here for 20 minutes, but I see a lot of them making like senior NCO and all that, but then I see a few officers, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, you know what? You don't see a lot of like black majors or generals, or I'm like, what the fuck's going on with this?
No, you'll find you'll definitely find more people of color in higher ranks on the enlisted side for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think, but that also goes back to when they were younger. Like a lot of people, especially in your inner cities where there's higher populations of people with color, the education is not as great. These people aren't getting into college in order to become officers. They're forced to go enlisted, and then they climb the ranks because they are definitely qualified and good at their jobs, and they get up to these ranks. And a perfect and absolutely hilarious situation about that was back in like the 2005 era Marine Corps. You had 2 sergeant majors, both men of color, that were vying for sergeant major of the Marine Corps. And it was between the 2 of them. Well, one of them tried to use, he had 2 cards that he used often. One of them was, we haven't had a black sergeant major of the Marine Corps in a long time. Despite the fact that the other man who was going for sergeant major of the Marine Corps was also a black man. So it's like, hey man, that card is irrelevant because either way, if either of you get it, that card will eventually win. But his other card was that he was a ground side, he was a grunt side sergeant major, and the other guy was an air winger. And he tried to play that. Why would you want somebody who's never seen actual combat, door-to-door combat, in charge of the Marine Corps, which half of it is door-to-door combat, Why would you want somebody like that? Well, he threw a big old fit about it, and it ended up being his demise. The other guy won, and the one who complained about it ended up getting stuck as a sergeant major of an air wing unit.
Oh, no.
And he was put there by the sergeant major of the Marine Corps.
That's a slow death.
He lost to.
Oh man, you hated that.
And honestly, we've talked about him before. So if anybody's watching and anybody was in the Marine Corps during the 2004 to 2007 range, definitely remember Sergeant Major Estrada. He was a Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. And especially if you were either ground side or you were stationed on the West Coast, you definitely had heard of Sergeant Major Vines. And he was the one who lost and got stationed in Yuma, of all places, which is an air station. This guy, he was such a hard ass. Like, you could be walking down the street, even if you were across the street, if you did not yell across the street, "Good morning, Sergeant Major," with the proper greeting of the day, he would make it a point to come over to you and chew your ass out. Don't you dare step on his grass because you're going to be standing there for half an hour. Don't let him catch you with your hands in your pockets, because that was the end of the world. Like, he would literally be like, "I want to know what unit you're in. I want to know your boss's name. I want to know what sergeant major is your." Like, he would just go nuts. Like, this guy was bitter. He just was so angry that he didn't get sergeant major of the Marine Corps that he took it out on literally anybody and anything that he could. And 90% of the time, it was junior Marines just trying to do their job. But,
my God.
for the entire time that he stayed in the Marine Corps, he definitely threw the whole, well, I don't under, he may be I think the sergeant major who did become the sergeant major of the Marine Corps, I want to say he was only did you heat it up? To what? You gotta heat it up for like 2 minutes.
Hour.
I did it for like 30 seconds.
No, you gotta do it longer than that.
I did like
Gotta teach that kid how to make some noodles.
2 30 seconds.
Right,
Okay,
Jesus,
we'll
that's
do it for like 3
that's
more.
like gonna be one thing that sustains him.
Ramen noodles.
That's a life skill right there.
Yeah. Ramen noodles and fucking
Side note, we
Velveeta
went to the
macaroni and
grocery
cheese.
store, and okay, you know how they have the cup of noodles? There's the chicken, the chili, the beef, whatever flavors. Well, it's hard to find, but they also have a cheese flavor, and the noodles are like wide. They're wide noodles, and it's like a cheese broth instead of like a chicken or beef broth in it, or shrimp or whatever. They are so good. Oh my God, they are so hard to find, but I saw a pack of them at the grocery store. I was like, "I'm gonna get them," and now the kids are like, "I want them all," and I'm like, "Save me one." No, yeah, but that one sergeant major, and this goes back to the whole, crying, not crying, but the prejudice in the Marine Corps is that fundamentally he thinks that he lost out because he was darker black than the other guy.
Oh my fucking God.
And it was really funny
tell
because
me.
Sergeant Major Estrada, the one who actually ended up becoming the SMAJ of the Marine Corps, he actually had done a really, really, really good job, despite the fact that he wasn't a ground side sergeant major. Like, he never was on the ground side. He in his Marine Corps career was always on the wing side. So for him to raise up and be able to do all these things, he proved a lot of people wrong that doubted him just because he hadn't seen combat. And I think in another sense that also pissed off Sergeant Major Vines even more, because he was like, "No, this guy doesn't know what he's doing." And then he came out to prove that he knew what he was doing. And that made him even more bitter. He has since retired. I want to say that, I don't remember where. I want to say he lives in San Diego area. I want to say he lives in Southern California, but people still see him around. And, there's, in the Marine Corps pages on Facebook and everything, every so often there'll be, a whole meme dedicated to Sergeant Major Vines posts. people will make memes
Oh.
about him and everything. It's like this guy was pretty famous in the Marine Corps, but yeah.
I
mean, he
feel
was a
bad
good
for the
sergeant major.
neighbors.
He was a
Right,
good sergeant major. He was very, very squared away. He definitely did his job well. He did do his job well. It was his attitude that was his downfall. Instead of just being humble and being like, you know what, I could always re-enlist again and try next time. But no, he didn't, because honestly, had he done that and just backed off gracefully when Sergeant Major Estrada won, he probably would have won the next time. But he didn't, and then he got bitter, and then he retired. So,
big old sourpuss.
Yeah, pretty much.
That is the term Sandus vaginus. Because, man, that dude fucking... How are you going to get that salty? Because, oh my God. So when you said that he had said that because the sergeant major was darker complected, I sat there and I'm like, did the motherfucker start giving a speech like he was fucking T'Challa? Like did he just come up to the thing, Wakanda forever? Like, Jesus Christ, that dude is fucking. Yeah. So whoever said that they feel bad for Homeboy's neighbors, I feel bad for Homeboy's paper boy having to drop off the daily fucking paper. Get the fuck off my grass!
Like, he was definitely. I mean, the guy was. He was out there when it came to it. Supposedly, according to people who have now seen him out in town, he's definitely like woo-sawed quite a bit. I think that like taking the uniform off, he was finally able to just be like human and not this raging, military machine.
That motherfucker probably smoking eighth a day. What the fuck?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? And if not, maybe he should. I don't know.
Right.
But,
I would if I could afford it.
Right. So the opposite of that question about have you ever seen blatant racism? Have you seen the opposite? Have you specifically seen somebody who was 100% perfect and qualified for a job get declined for a job to put somebody of color in that position specifically for equal opportunity?
Yeah, a lot.
Somebody underqualified gets the job just because the color of their skin.
Oh, I've seen motherfuckers ask the question like, "Hey, I've been more qualified," and they just go up to it and they're like, "We needed to make the demographic this time."
Pretty much, yeah.
The fuck?
What I don't know.
I mean, they got promoted the next ceremony, but still, like, dude, seriously,
what's it called?
Really?
Affirmative. What is it? Affirmative action? Is that it?
What's that?
Affirmative action? Is that it?
That would be like the civilian equivalent, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. I've seen that happen a couple times. I saw it happen in the military a couple times.
So speaking on like people being promoted, just because they're the people of color. I actually have a buddy that's in the Navy right now. He's stationed over in Japan. Lucky fucker. So my thing is, his main thing, like he even came to me. Like he came to me, was like, "Hey, I need to talk to you about this person." I'm like, "Okay, man, sure." So when we went outside, we had a cigarette. I'm sitting there, I'm talking to him, and he's like, "I need you to tell me right now, how is it?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "How is it? What, the military?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh fuck, I gotta have this story with him. I gotta have this talk with him." And I told him everything, like, motherfuckers, his main thing was, "Man, nobody's gonna treat me different because I'm fucking black." I'm like, "Bro, if anybody treats you different because you fucking black, you fucking give me a holler. I'll call the fucking installation CID and IG that you're at, and I'll put in a fucking anonymous report." Nobody's fucking with them. Nobody fucking around like that. But the Navy, sometimes it's like that still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I never really saw much of that because I My team, we were, like I said, we worked 18s, 4 days on and then 3 off. So the only time we ever went into the skiff was to go for a briefing. So I never really got to see much of the day-to-day operations of the squadron just because of the hours that I was working, and we were in a completely separate building.
Yeah. See, Twinkles, are you still watching? If you're still watching, find some time and join the stream. I don't see him watching anymore. God dang it. Because
But
then we could have a Navy voice in here also. Because we've got the Air
yeah.
Force, which we have not had an Air Force in here yet. So thank you for that.
Yay.
We're trying to
Hey,
get
I'm glad to
voices
be
from
here.
all the branches, so that
So
way
we're
we
like
can
the
get
Infinity
perspective from
Stones.
all the
Right,
branches.
exactly.
Yeah,
We make
we
up the
do.
gauntlet.
We're missing
Just
one,
fucking-
and we will. I
Brilliant.
mean, we
Brilliant.
usually have somebody who's also, a civilian in here also at all times, so that way if they have questions or they, we can see their perceptions on things, then that's a good thing. Also, hold on 1 second, please. What?
See, that's why I don't have kids. I'm not saying I don't like kids, but I probably wouldn't even like my own kids. I like other people's kids when they're behaved.
I think I would smoke my children. Like
Yeah.
they'd get to like 10. Okay, so I was raised to believe from like 4 to like 8, you're learning. Like you're learning basic, like how everything works. Like you're learning this is right, this is wrong, shit like that. Once you hit 10, that's when the ass whoopings start getting a little harder. That was
Yeah.
when I started finding myself having to grab a switch.
You know what? That is true. And you know what? One thing is a lot of these parents just give these kids these iPads and then say, ignore the rest of it.
I
And
got told to go the fuck outside and come home when the streetlights came on.
yeah.
No, but oh yeah, my niece, she was like that, just here's a phone, all that shit. And she came at me one day, looked a little sideways. And I looked at her. I said, "Girl, if you don't calm your fucking ass down, I don't give a fuck if you're grown. I will fucking break off this fucking chunkle and chunk it at your ass." She's like, my dad." I was like, "I'll slap the fuck out of your dad too for spoiling you so much. Shit, you're lucky your fucking grandma didn't fucking raise you. She would have whooped that ass. My mama did not play." I know my grand shit. My mama had to break out a wood spoon. She's fucking a little Italian lady.
You don't
She was
mess with
on.
them times now.
And then my grandma, she was fucking old school, fucking Scottish. My grandpa, he, old school Southern. So we're sitting here. I'm like, I fuck up one day. I told my grandma no. Grandpa looked at me. He said, "Boy, get your ass outside. Go up in that tree and go grab yourself a switch." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, bring it back to your grandma and you're gonna drop trowel. I'm like, "Oh fuck, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna suck." And I went out, grabbed a little skinny one. I was like, "Oh man, this shit gonna break in like one hit." It broke in one hit. Then I had to go get another, and now I got my ass whooped more because I was a smart ass. But it taught me, don't be a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
There are
my mom had a
consequences.
paddle. It's like shaped like a spade, like a playing card.
My cousins had one, right? So like the old Catholic school ones, one had that meaty ass handle. So this thing was like, I'm gonna try to, so about that fucking wide, about that long, and it had holes drilled in it, and it said Big Calhoun on the handle. And my cousins, they used to fuck up. They used to get that shit. Like, granted, they fucked up, but I'm looking at them. I'm like, man, if I would have got that, oh hell no, I would have ran. I would have hid at my fucking cousin's house. I would have went over to my aunt, to my fucking aunt, to my aunt Cindy's, and be like, "Hey, auntie, can I stay here for a couple days until grandma and grandpa cool the fuck down?"
Yeah, as soon as I got to be like, see, my mom's like 5 foot tall. My dad and I are about the same height, 5'11". He's about 5'10". I'm a little taller than he is somehow. But like as soon as I got up to about 4'10", something like that, anywhere close to her height, she stopped trying to do any sort of like physical punishment with me.
I think my I think my mom is 4'11", dad is 5'9". All my brothers are around the 5 foot range, and I'm over here at 6'2".
Yeah, well, I didn't get this tall until I was like 17. It was weird.
Bro, I didn't get so I shot up to when I joined up. I was 6'3.5". I was almost 6'4", but I got shrunk down a little because of the bomb suit. Fuck you, bomb suit. No, but I'm fucking chilling. You know, my fucking my brother. He's short. He's shorter. Like he comes up to here on me, and he decided he wanted to have a little slap box contest. I fucking bob back. I fucking cock back, slap him. Fucking, he's sitting there for a minute, just sitting there looking at me with his glossy eyes, looking like doll's eyes. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, "Hey, bro, you all right? You all right, bro?" He's
Yeah,
like,
I did.
"What the fuck happened?" I'm like, "I slapped the soul out of you."
Yeah, it's being taller than somebody in a fight can be a real advantage, especially if you have formal training too. Like I remember when I was doing taekwondo a few years ago. I did taekwondo for years, and I was the only person that was taller than me in the class was one of the black belts, and he was one of the instructors. So he didn't spar. He wasn't trying to spar. Us when we're like green belts and stuff like that. So you know, I would have so much reach on people with my legs that they would just try to circle around me the entire time just so they wouldn't get side kicked or turning kicked.
We was
Sorry.
actually wrestling like arm bars and shit growing up with my dad. Like, and I remember going through like my growing spurt, like at like 9, 10. Like I shot up over fucking night. It was crazy.
Hey guys,
I went.
I'm so sorry. I gotta get off real quick here. I got a busy schedule for tomorrow. I'm so sorry, guys.
Sorry, man.
You're
It's
fine.
all right,
Thanks for
man.
being here, man.
Glad to have you.
Great seeing you guys. I gotta get going. See everybody. Peace
See
out.
you later.
No problem.
But just it's crazy how like a lot of the shit we did as kids. I don't know, but yeah. So we started getting on that subject when we heard Max or whoever was screaming their head off for bloody murder.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my son almost set the house on fire because, of course, when I'm doing something important, every
Oh
time.
shit!
Man, I was such a pyro when I was a kid, man. It was bad.
No. He put the cup of noodles in the microwave with not enough
No,
water.
that has metal. No.
With no water.
With not enough water.
Oh, okay.
So the
Yeah,
noodles got fired.
I'm clearing the house of the smoke now. Once that's done, I can actually clean up the actual mess. Because it's a giant black glob in the microwave right now. Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm going to
Bless
die.
him for trying.
I'll tell you right now,
I just love
breathing in air that's filled with
how-
like the fumes of microwave styrofoam is not fun. No, I feel so bad for him because I told him, I said, you got to put the hot water in the cup. You got to heat the water up and then put it in the cup. And he put the water in the cup and then put the whole cup of noodles in the microwave.
Now you're gonna have to go to the VA for smoke inhalation.
Probably. I mean, I just got done fucking like smoking cigarettes, but like now all I kind of want to do is go smoke a cigarette.
Is cardboard really that bad? No.
It's not cardboard. It's styrofoam.
Oh God, no. Never mind. I melt that down and make angry jelly.
There's like a taste in my mouth now, and
I just love how it went
But he was
from
crying because he
talking
opened
about
it up and like it just kind of like all came billowing out, and that's probably like hurt his breathing right there because he opened it right in his own face, and yeah. So I had to go like grab all the fans from around the house and like push them and point them towards the windows and the doors, open everything up so it like sucks it all out.
So I gotta ask something. I don't know if you can see me, but you know
No,
how
your camera's off.
okay, so in the army we have to tap our shoulders with our hands, like that signals gas. I could just see it now. One of my children doing that, running in the living room, just tapping their shoulders. Gas. So fucking. All right, let's go
I don't
do
know if it's
this.
like touching your shoulders or just kind of like doing something like this. Because I remember in the Marine Corps we had just learned that, and one of the girls like sat up in the middle, like not in the middle of the night, but like right as we were laying down for the night. She sits up and she whispers as loud as she can. She goes, "Guys, gas, gas, gas," and then just lets one rip as long and loud as she possibly could.
Oh
It
yeah,
was
I've
fucking
done that
hilarious.
so much.
I mean,
did that,
you know,
so-
it's almost expected to hear stories like that coming from the men, but to know, you know, hearing it come from a female Marine Corps boot camp
female,
story, then
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
kinda
that's
funny.
crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh,
And
she's
we were all like,
got
you know,
this
18,
one.
17 years old.
Yeah.
Oh man, this smell better clear out before the roommate gets home because
So
I don't want to hear that.
she's got this story about they were doing like a health and welfare or room inspections or something. A female Marine had her toy, for lack of a better word, in the room, and they had found it. And what the fuck did she say it was a weapon of mass destruction?
Oh yeah, okay. So they were doing health and comfort, or what, I don't know what they else call it, where they go in and they literally search every inch of your room looking for shit you're not supposed to have. And they ask you, so that way if you come clean, then you won't get in trouble for it. You just give it up, and you know, no questions asked. And they were like, "Well, do you have any weapons, drugs, or anything like that in your room?" And she's like, "Well, we don't have any drugs." She's like, "But do you have any weapons?" She goes, "Maybe weapons of mass destruction." And oh man, the entire whole row just waiting for their turn to, you know, we all had to stand outside of our rooms. The entire dorm wing just was dying. Like the gunnery sergeant who was going through the rooms, the one in charge asking the questions, going through the rooms, she couldn't hold a straight face. She started dying. She was like, "Okay, just let me know where so I know when to avoid it." Yeah, it was pretty funny. I'll tell you, man, girls are probably a lot more dirty than people think they are.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
a lot dirtier than people think they are.
Most of them just don't like to admit it because they're afraid of slut shaming or whatever.
Well, see, now that goes right back to the whole topic of this whole stream, the prejudice there. We're supposed to act a certain way. We're supposed to think a certain way, behave a certain way. And it's like, we're people too. We may not have a dangly thing between our legs, but guess what? We are people too.
You
we
know,
can do the job also.
Oh hell yeah! I've seen texts with some fucking knowledge on some shit that I'm sitting there and I'm like, I had no idea, but for teaching me. You ain't gonna mansplain to me how I'm doing it wrong. I'm like, sugar, darling, you just saved me a lot of pain in the ass. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna fucking buy you a beer. Because you're fucking one of the boys. First off, you're a tech. I don't give a fuck if you got a tits in the vet. I used to tell them the whole time, if you fucks with bombs in the same way we do, you one of the boys. I don't give a fuck. Somebody fucks with you, I'll fucking knock them the fuck out. I don't give a fuck. And
I
they're,
mean,
you know, it was great.
there was a girl that was in my unit, and we worked the same hours and everything. We lived in the dorm together, and every now and then we would hook up, you know, just for fun. But then the other female airmen would give her shit about it.
I know it's backwards.
Yeah,
But
no, we can
cheddar
see it.
cheese flavor.
A lot of
Cheddar
people.
cheese flavor. It is so good. Okay, I'll make it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I used to hear that's where I heard the term dorm hoe for the first time, was when I was a Goodfellow.
Barracks rat?
Dorm hoes. Yeah.
Barracks
But,
money.
it's not like I was like fucking every girl in the dorm either. It was just one, and it was like once in a while we would hook up, like maybe once a week or something like that, you know, just for fun. We weren't even in a relationship. We just wanted to hook up once in a while. Blow some steam off, you know.
I love you too.
I had a rule.
Go play.
Only civilians.
See, I tried that too. I tried to date only civilians, and then it just didn't work out because I always felt like they didn't understand my lifestyle. You know, like they're all like these.
Yeah.
I had like two girls in a row be like, "Why don't we ever go out on the weekends? You never want to spend it." I'm like, "I'm fucking tired." I just worked 80 hours in a row. Let me fucking sleep. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm sitting here. They're
Okay,
like,
imagine how it is for a
I've had
female in the military. Imagine how
Yeah,
it is.
well,
Like I have had the toughest time. 99% of the people I've dated were also military or veterans themselves.
exactly.
Because
Because we feel like they're the only people who get us, right?
The only other people that I've kind of talked to are people who have high pressure, you know, stressful job environments. You know, first responders, people who work like in the aviation field because that's a pretty high paced job. You know, a lot of stress. You got people's lives in your hands, stuff like that. You know, so. You know, I know. I mean,
would love
JB,
to
how many first responders do we have in the server? Quite a few.
in this server.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
A few.
but I mean, from like from Scars of War, fuck, it's all former veterans that became either firefighters, policemen, EMTs, like, and they
Well, I
go
mean
through, and
that
I'm
server is specifically geared towards, you know, that demographic of people. I'm talking about like my
Yeah.
private server. I mean,
oh,
just
personal.
let me see. If
We
I-
have a
if I-
few. We have a few.
Let's see. Just who's online right now?
We have a few people.
Oh, just who's online? No, none of them are online right now. But if I go through, let's see. Coach, he's a firefighter. Deadpool,
Yep.
he's a firefighter.
Yep.
My
I believe
mouse
the correct
wants to
term is
not
hose
work.
jockey, but what?
Hose jockey, that's
Firefighter.
great.
Yeah, I've heard that reference. I'm like, I'm looking at fucking. I had to text a buddy of mine, Raging. He's a Marine Corps veteran who's a firefighter. I'm like, hey, bro, why does the chat for firefighters say hose jockey? And he explained it to me. I'm just sitting there like, oh my god, can I use that?
Let's see.
Can I use
he's
that
got
as an
only-
insult? Like, you look like a real hose jockey
he's a
right
volunteer
now.
Fire. See, we don't have like really any law enforcement. We have all firefighters. Odin, I think he's a volunteer firefighter. Renly's a volunteer firefighter.
Panda's looking at being a fucking county sheriff.
Iron Throne is a volunteer firefighter. Apparently, my son's a volunteer firefighter. He just said so right now.
Or pyrotechnic.
V3, he's the Canadian guy, but not only is he in the Canadian military, but he also does volunteer firefighting for his little area in Canada.
Yeah, he does.
As well. You know, we have a lot of firefighters in my server, and it's really funny because it's not like we're looking or anything for firefighters. It's just who tends to be like, magnetic towards my group.
But if we wanted to start a calendar, we fucking could. Just letting you guys know. If we need to start Patreon,
we have at
can
least
get that
6,
going.
which means everybody gets 2 months.
The men, the people of status quo, just got me with a fucking midriff, silkies with my beer gut hanging out.
So we are in the last half an hour of the segment, and now we do kind of just like goof around and just joke about everything, you know. So now we're gonna have fun. But we should do that, JB. We should do that. We should put out there, hey, let's make a status quo calendar, and get people to submit pictures. And I swear I will make it. I will make it, and I would sell them. I would totally do that.
So I'm gonna need those like rainbow shade, those like how like the bro vets got them with the like visor shades. Yeah, I'm gonna need those. I'm gonna need a midriff hot pink T-shirt that says something like cum or something. I don't know. Just have
Daddy's
cum
girl.
right prophecy. I don't know. And then have on some red, white, and blue silkies with combat boots or cowboy boots. I'll do cowboy boots. And I'm sitting there eating a fucking Big Mac like a fucking Paris Hilton doing a Carl's Jr. commercial.
No, not cowboy boots. With that outfit, you need freaking LA Gear high tops. Okay, I'm
Do I need to
dating
make a
myself.
trip for Hot Topic?
LA Gear. They
Do
don't
you
even make
remember-
that shit anymore, do they?
They don't. LA Gear was like the original knockoff. Like they were
The cheap sneakers, yeah. I mean, you couldn't afford Nikes,
Yeah.
go get some LA Gears.
pretty much. They were like Reebok. You know, before Reebok became super popular.
Yeah.
Reebok used to be like the low also. Same thing
Right.
with Champion.
Like
Champion
Champions.
used to be Walmart brand, and then like now they're like people are begging for
Like
Champion gear.
Dude, I got a whole Adidas tracksuit.
Really? Are you Russian?
Yeah. No, I'm not.
Max, here's the question.
I just thought I'd go
You
old
got some
school because I'm
chains?
getting old.
I made you it properly.
Do you leave it unzipped a
It's
little so you
still-
got
it's
that
just
man meat
circulating.
hanging out?
It's not burning.
I mean, I don't have a heavy chest or anything,
I don't
so.
have a fork for you.
Okay,
Though.
I don't either.
I have hands.
I have a little hair on my chest. Fucking
It's
native
gonna be
jeans.
hot for a bit, so.
Dude, I'm fucking sitting
I
here.
use
I'm
the
like,
regular hot water.
it's officially cool where I'm at. It'll officially, we're like 70s right now, and I'm like, oh,
I told him
I'm not
if
sweating
he
my
doesn't
ass
wanna
off.
use this,
It's
that
77 in
water
Denver right now, but it got up to 90 today, so it got pretty hot.
and then pour it
So you're
in.
familiar with where the box is
He's 6.
over in
Trial and
California?
error. He'll never do
My
that again.
my bar stove.
No, I was up north of Sacramento at Beale Air Force Base.
Okay, so yeah, I know where that's at. Yeah, so I'm like 2 hours. I'm like 45 minutes to an hour and a half drive from 29 Palms, where the Marines do their desert warfare training.
20. Well, they do it everywhere between 29 Palms and Yuma. They go between. Everywhere in between.
Yeah, including Blythe.
Oh well, yeah. That's kind of sort of
On
in
the
that
way.
general in between area.
Man,
Like
I
if you were
seen
to put
Austin.
if you were to put Yuma at one point and 29 Palms at the other, and then draw a circle with with those on either side, that's like the desert training area for the Marine Corps.
so we have a cotton
And
gin
the
area
Army
over
also,
on
because you
Sealy
have
Avenue.
YPG over there. You have YPG out there by in Yuma also, so you've got that whole area that the Army trains.
So when that when that Osprey went down over in Glamis, I guess they had a call go out where they had to do where they were like telling the pilots and everybody, check your shit, make sure everything's good. And I remember going home and we seen this Osprey make an emergency landing, like not fast, just like come down, hats dropped, everybody got out, was checking shit along the wings, like they powered it down and all that. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, only in Blythe will I see a motherfucking Osprey touch down in an open field and have Marines performing a fucking security perimeter while the fucking pilots are going out making sure their shit's good to go.
Yep.
And they're fucking on-site fucking flight guy. The fucking was it the fucking flight chief or whatever?
The crew chief.
Yeah, the crew chief. Yeah. There's two.
The crew
There
chief
was like
the crew chief is the one that's in charge of everybody on the plane, aside from who's in the cockpit.
pilot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So fucking, he's sitting there with a flashlight, checking everything, making sure it's good to go, and I'm like, this is fucking cool. Like this is
I don't know
like
how,
sad that it.
I don't know how the Army or even the Air Force does it, but the Marine Corps, if the usually crew chiefs, I mean, you have crew chiefs for like fixed wing birds also, but they obviously don't fly with the bird, but they're the ones in charge of the bird. They're the ones in charge of the maintenance for it, make sure everything's good
Right,
to
the
go.
crew chief is in charge of the whole team that's in charge of the maintenance for the plane. Yeah.
Right.
So like
Well,
the crew
and-
chiefs, then they have the crew chiefs have like an engine guy underneath them, and then like the tracking, the display system and all that shit.
Right. Well, in the rotary wing side, at least in the Marine Corps, the crew chief flies with the bird. They're on the flight as well.
Yeah, that's
They're the
not how
ones
the Air
taking
Force
care
works
of
at all.
everything.
No.
Well, they're in charge of the whole plane, but they're also the ones that in flight are making sure everything behind the cockpit is running smoothly. That includes if they have cargo or personnel on board that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. But they also get their name painted on the bird underneath the pilot. So you have
Yeah,
the pilot,
yeah.
his call sign, and then the crew chief with his call sign.
Like all the crew chiefs I ever met were like for fighters. So I don't know if if with larger planes if they ever took the crew chiefs up with them or not, like on a B-52 or something like that. Who knows? I don't know. But
Or like a C-130
at least
or something.
yeah, like an AC-130 or something like that. Yeah.
So
Oh
your
my
crew chiefs,
God.
are they usually enlisted
I love
as well?
I love those fucking things, man.
Oh,
One time, my unit flew the U-2 Dragon Lady, right? The pilot actually has to wear a pressurized suit because they fly at like 70,000 feet, right? But the reason they still use those because they started using them in the 60s to spy on the Russians. And then once the Cold War was over, they retrofitted them with new cameras because there's still nothing that we have in our inventory that can fly that high. And the reason they do that is because we were looking for, the Marines and the Army would let us know what convoy routes they were going to be using and stuff out in Afghanistan or whatever. And then we'd have the U-2 fly over, and then the Predator, and then the Global Hawk to see if we could find anybody planting IEDs. Now, one time, I looked on the feed, and right next to the road, there's these two little guys and then one of those little Toyota pickup trucks that they always like to put like a machine gun in the back of,
the fucking technicals, yeah.
Technicals, yeah. And so
Yeah, the
they're just a couple of guys and a bag next to them, and they're just digging this big hole in the ground. I tell the sergeant tells the captain, and like 2 minutes later, an AC-130 strike hits them. They're like a fucking smoking crater in the ground about 5
What
feet
did they
wide.
use?
They used the 144.
Just non-existent.
Just 2 rounds from the 144. Those guys were fucking gone.
Well, at least they didn't break out the 105, right? Where
No, that's what I'm saying.
Airplane does this.
No, they used the 140 howitzer on that thing.
Oh god damn.
Yeah, 2 shells. That thing was. Those guys were fucking done. Yeah.
Oh.
Because it was actually like the briefings we actually went through were classified, but I mean they would tell us. Okay, we've got F-16s, we've got F-22s, we've got B-2s, we've got the AC-130, U-2, Global Hawk, Predator. Like we just had shit stacked like to as high as you could get it.
I've seen 101st call in, a couple of spooks, couple, spooks.
Let's not forget the A-10s. Yeah.
Yo, fuck you. I hate. Okay.
Those things
so
are good for close air support, man.
So your Air Force, right? The A-10 is your guys' baby. When was that thing built?
I don't recall, but actually, I saw something on YouTube. They're coming out with a brand new model, actually.
Okay, so when she's coming down, right? And she's getting ready to fire off fucking Red Bull cans.
Yep.
Out of her, yeah. So when she's coming down now, that
depleted uranium rounds.
So you're hearing that, and you're doing they pull up you like a scream noise.
Yeah.
I'm screaming back up into the atmosphere, but that noise unnerves a lot of motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's what I always heard from like the enemy combatants on the other side would always say something like that A-10 would scare the motherfucking shit out of us more than anything those guys had.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like, okay, so did George Lucas use the sound that the TIE fighters make as a reference? Because Jesus, man, this I'm sitting there like, America! Like, let's fucking go! See it just fucking grant like. There's a reference, and I want every AC, AC-130 gunner, Warthog gunner to know this. There's a reference that we once said back in the day. We're like, you're not a man until you fucked a mountain. Yeah, they fucked mountains.
They said.
Yeah, they have fucked mountains. They are men.
Yeah.
They have made love to a mountain. I'm sitting here, I'm like, Jesus Christ, because you know how many fucking times we've called them in to clear out fucking cave entrances, just, hey yo, send in the AC-130, why? use
to collapse the fucking cave, that's why.
Use the 105 for initial. Use the
Yeah.
140 for the. Use the other one for the backup. Wait, what's going on? We're caving it in.
Fuck yeah.
You hear? So apparently they are allowed to pack Excalibur rounds on that motherfucker.
On the howitzer?
Yeah. Apparently, by the time I got out, they had took the 155 Excalibur round, they shrunk it down to a 105. Now this
So what's
bitch
that like?
fires out, and it has.
What's that? Just a frag round or something? Like what makes it different than another round?
Laser guided.
Oh right, yeah.
Because once it leaves the tube, fins pop open, the charge kicks off on the back, and it'll fucking guide it in using a fucking laser designator. They're kind of like how the old copperheads rounds were.
I'm pretty sure we did that too back in the day. They were just using regular shells, though, but they just tried to paint it as accurately as possible.
They were using what was in reference the old copperheads.
Yeah.
But those were causing too many friendlies and too many casualties because of the. It was precise, but let's be honest. When the precise is like half a city block, it's not really that fucking.
A lot of
precise.
shitload of shrapnel, basically.
Yeah. I mean, at least we weren't firing off atomic annies.
True.
I seen that. I seen that video the fat electrician did, and so my last duty station before I got out was Fort Sill. I'm sitting here and I'm like, so I went up, along where like behind the PX where the artillery museum is, they have it sitting outside Atomic Annie. And I'm just sitting here like, Jesus, can you imagine the dudes that just sat there that one day with some general like, oh yeah, we're gonna go fire off an atomic artillery gun. Huh? Like, dude, I hope that these guys got compensated. Because they got irradiated like the motherfucker. Like, they didn't live to see.
Yeah. Well, same thing with Abrams craters.
Yeah, with the fucking Sabot rounds. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just the armor was on those things is depleted uranium, so that's that's radiation just being in the tank by itself.
Mm-hmm. I know. My buddy was telling me because he knew a couple. So he was on board the Eisenhower. That buddy Justin, he knew a couple guys in the reactor room. Because the Eisenhower is a nuclear powered carrier. Yeah. I guess. You know how like back in World War II, like sub commanders were only allowed like 4 fucking tours.
No, so they wouldn't burn out.
Yep. So it's kind of like the same thing, but for them it's so they don't fucking, so they have a chance at life.
So they don't get cancer.
Yeah. So like they're allowed to go out, work on it for like 4 deployments, whatever, or for how long I don't know. But there's a set limit, like because they don't leave it. Like they are there maintaining this thing, fucking like 12 hours, 13 hours a day when they're out to sea. And I'm sitting here like, damn. Exposed to all of that radiation, not alone, all that heavy water. Oh my God. Imagine the mutations it's causing in their genetics. I hope that anybody listening, if you want to go in and do Navy reactor, do cool. If you got the big brain, go ahead. Please have children or your sperm frozen before you go. Because there's going to be so many mutations. You're going to have hills have eyes babies. And it's just nah. You left me, Daddy. No, get away from me, you little freak. Oh, it's fucking horrible. I'm going to hell for that, but whatever. Like, it's just.
You're just gonna go near their house. You're gonna start hearing the banjos play.
Think of your testicles, man. Think of your swimmers. That's all. Think of your, and if you're a female, eggs too. Like, seriously, think about it. Or half it, or.
Yeah,
If you already had
if I were a
children.
woman, I would not want to be in the Navy, honestly. That's another reason I joined the Navy. Just as a man, I didn't want to get stuck on a boat for months at a time. It didn't seem like any fun to me at all.
You know what's sad though, and I've realized this about. I've heard a lot about it. So, Army Marines, there's a lot of suicide rates between a lot inactive members, but when these guys go out to sea and they get shit that, because you gotta realize there's limited communication some of these times, where you just can't talk to family
Yeah.
and shit happens. Girls leave you, children get taken away, stuff like that. Moms die, and my buddy has told me horror stories, just awful. Finding dudes hanging in the fucking fan room with, just hanging on the pipes and shit. I'm like, God damn, bro. Like dudes
That's
just
fucked up.
decided they rather get decapitated by the fucking cable that catches the fucking fighter jets and shit. And I'm like, God damn, dude.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. That's 22 a day.
I
Is
got
the latest
That
figure.
number's actually that number's significantly different now. It's
Is
not
it lower
22
or?
anymore. No, it's higher. I want to say it's
That's
probably
fucked.
like 23. I want to say it's at like 23 and a half now.
That's why we started
it's
this,
bad.
man. We got tired of this shit,
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it myself. I'm not gonna lie.
I think everybody
My
has at some
my
point.
dad had to talk me out of it on the phone one time years ago. I was telling him, Dad, I just don't want to live anymore. And he was just like, you always have your family.
Yeah. I'm sorry
It's
you have to
true.
go through that. It's never a fun
Well, I
place
mean,
to
it's
be at.
right. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have had it worse because they saw combat and stuff like that. I didn't. I've just dealt with depression my entire life, basically. My mom has too.
I hear you.
I mean, I've had depression, yeah, because, being a victim of childhood, abuse and whatnot, but I did not. I should have. A part of me is like, you should have listened to your dad and never even went to college, whatever. But then there's that part of me that's like, dude, if you were ever give that, like, I've had people ask me multiple times, if you were able to do it all over again, would you? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I would have definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I would too,
And
and
I
I
would have
wouldn't,
popped.
and I would have fucking
Yeah.
exercised a lot more before I got to basic training. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
See, that's one thing
Well,
I
I
didn't
mean,
have
I
to do.
did.
I was very, very active before I joined. And I left 4 days after graduating high school, but I had already been playing soccer for 10 years. And, I was
I
on the
did
track team.
football, wrestling. I did all bunch of shit.
I was in the
But
marching
then I went
band.
and had kids, and that all fucking died.
Dude, I got kicked out of high school band.
Dude, in my high school, they've won the national championship like 3 or 4 times since I've graduated. We did not fuck around in my high school with the band. We spent like 3 hours a day every day after school practicing.
So I had
And
this
then I
thing
would
where
have
I
to go
like
home and do my
to.
homework. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went to the school one day early. On a Friday, we wanted to, jam out for a minute. So I took the drum set in the band class, set it up for a bass, and my buddy David brought his own guitar and shit, and we're setting up. You know the song, we've managed to do, I think it was that first song we did was the Poison by Bullet, and then we followed it up with fucking Scream Aim Fire. And as soon as we did started the, the fucking in chorus, just fucking Mr. Martinez comes in and she's like, "Oh hell no, you guys aren't going that hard on the stuff." I'm like, so we stopped. We're like, first off, that's David's guitar, and I may have went a little hard on the drum set. I am sorry. I didn't break nothing, but this thing can kick. I love it. He's like, "Oh hell no, you guys are not in this class anymore." I'm like, "Oh, what the hell? It's because we have an appreciation for heavy metal. You're gonna kick me out of band?" Like, dog.
Dude, I remember when I was in like junior high and like the first time this girl ever broke a head on a snare drum, she started to cry because she thought like she was going to have to get the whole thing replaced or whatever. And then our teacher came by. She's like, "No, we'll just put a new head on it." She's like, "What? Yeah, this thing could be replaced easily." And she was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, our teacher was a little uptight. But it was fun though for 3 months. He's just like, you guys fucking could have broken. I'm like, if I would have broke it, I would have brought one in from my home and replaced it, and which is way better quality than this. You would have got an upgrade. It is what it is. You know, people are gonna hate. You had a school, you had a good teacher that encouraged learning and whatnot, and that's great. I
I
just
only had a
think
couple
that.
teachers that were like that.
So I had a teacher that was a Gulf War veteran, and he was Army, and he was a algebra teacher. When I was in his class one day, we're sitting there, right, and he's trying to like break it down, and I'm like zoning out because let's be honest, if I know what the fuck it is and I can do it, I'm like, hey, what the fuck's the point? All these slow motherfuckers can't handle it. Come on, come, you know. I've, alwa- I was like that. I was that type of person where I just didn't give a fuck. It was about, hey, if I can pick up the material, can I pick up the pace a little, you know? But I've had to learn to be more patient with people. And he's sitting here, and he's like, so you mean to tell me that if I gave you all the source material for the first algebra 1 and algebra 2, you would complete them by the school year? Like, yeah. And so what would that would he's like, where would that get me? He's like, well, you could do geometry, calculus, or fucking pre physics. I'm like, oh. So I'm
I
sitting
hated
here as
math
the
when I was in school.
sophomore. Oh, I loved it. I love math.
History was always
I
my
can
favorite
dial.
subject.
So what I used to do was, so when we were kids, we used to play with like dry ice in 2 liter bottles with water and like do percussion explosions.
Of course.
I used to dial that shit in where it would be my brother did the windows in my grandma's fucking greenhouse, and she was pissed. Like grandpa
Yep.
replaced him, beat Mikey's fucking ass. And then we're sitting here, and I remember doing it one day. My brother's like, "You're gonna blow out the windows." I'm like, "You use too much." I'm sitting there calculating my slices like I'm cutting it. He's like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "Watch this." He's sitting there, like Archer from like when they do the fucking concussion grenade. Mup, mup, mup,
That show's fucking
mup.
great. That show is so great.
Yeah.
And my brother, like his ears were bleeding a little. Like I've given my brother tinnitus.
Yeah.
I told him, cover your ears, you know. And he's 2 years older than me, so he's like, I'm like 8, 7, and he's like 10, 9 or 10, and I'm sitting there in my little in my little shorts that were like coveralls, no, with like a little white T-shirt on with like little boy shoes. I'm like, oh, brother, you need to plug your ears. Why? I'm telling you, man. Like, for what? We didn't break nothing. I mean, a little loud. Yeah, so and then after that, 30 minutes later, yeah, cops showed up to the front door. They're like, Mrs. Story, did you guys, were your kids playing with dry ice? Like, yeah. Which one? Was it Michael? They're like, no. Which one was it? James. That kid didn't break any windows in the neighborhood, and they heard it within 4 blocks.
Damn.
That kid needs the cop is like, keep that stuff away from him and don't teach him anymore for a while. Why? Because this kid's gonna be making bombs while he's 13 and blowing up schools because some kids bullying him. So I kind of got stripped from doing that shit for a couple of years, and then I, went to the recruiter, did my ASVAB, scored high as fuck, great scores. They were like, you can do any job you want.
That's what they said to me too.
And
The recruiter was like, "What do you want to do?"
well, I didn't wear my glasses a lot back then, and then I put my glasses on so I could read the paper. And he was like, "Oh, fuck, you wear glasses?" Because I hadn't done my physical yet, so they were just looking at my job options before I went to MEPS. And then I was like, "Yeah, I wear glasses." He's like, "Hold up," and half of it was fucking gone, like all the
Yeah.
fucking RAS, all the Ranger, and all that shit. I'm like, "Oh, come on, man."
Yeah. To do my job,
on,
you
man.
had to, if you wore glasses, it had to be correctable to 2020. No questions asked.
Like, Yeah, like I wanted to do special forces. That was my thing. I was like, I when I first had an interest in military service, I was like, I want to be a Navy SEAL. Then I was like, nah, fuck, I'm gonna be Army because I don't like to swim that much. But
Yeah.
you know,
All right,
yeah,
guys. I'm not going to cut you off. But it is that time to go ahead and end the stream. We can go ahead and continue our conversation after I run our credits here. So I'm going to go
Okay.
ahead and deafen Discord and shut down Twitch. So go ahead and say goodbye to Twitch, everybody, and we will see you either next week
hit
or the
us
week
up.
after. We're not
Yeah, hit
exactly
us
sure
up,
yet. We
guys,
might do one next week.
on the Discord.
Yeah.
I'll be
So
just
thanks
as
for
weird as I
joining
am
us.
on
I
here.
know today was a little frantic. Had a wonderful, almost burned the house down moment today. It's never
Yeah,
a
you
dull
guys can-
moment in my house.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitch as well. It's the same name here.
Okay. Well, if you go into the status quo Discord, in the where is it? It would be in the top announcements channel. There's two of them. It's not under information. It's in the top underneath rules. You'll be able to see the last thing posted is my Twitch channel. If you want to go on there, then go ahead and drop a follow, and then I'll follow you back, and we can go from there. But anyways,
Yeah.
Twitch, it was wonderful seeing you, and guys, I will be right back. Thank you for joining this week's episode. Together, we aim to make change for ourselves and our brothers and sisters in arms. Things aren't always easy for those serving amongst our ranks, and getting the help when our time of service has come to an end can mean life or death. It's time we disrupt the status quo.